Hey, welcome to the Evolution Podcast. And today it's just me. I'm going to be going over some have it all. Like, how do you actually have it all? And this to do with manifesting and just going over a few of the basics and why there's a big difference between a lottery mentality, as in get it all, win it all, manifest it, like kind of like magic type thing, is detrimental versus building it, seeing it, envisioning it. Now, it is fun to do a little manifesting and manifest something cool, and it's all exciting. You get to experience it, and those are good things. They're cool. Um, but if you were to manifest the lottery without the stability of financial, emotional integrity, then you're just going to lose it all and you're going to wind up in a much worse place. So we don't want to do that. Or if you manifest the guy or the girl and that causes you to, all of a sudden wind up in a position that you're not prepared for and then you destroy it. So you go on this real high. It's almost like the gaslit yourself type mindset. And you learn kind of the hard way. And so there's a different way to do this and understanding like you can manifest very quick if you and be very successful and very fulfilling. One of the things I would suggest you focus on the most is, there's a concept that says feel good now or feel good or feel better. No matter where you're at, even if you feel like crap, feel a little bit better. So I focus on, does this feel like joy? Like, does this bring me joy, fulfillment, enjoyment, things like that? Like, love brings me joy. There's certain things that bring me joy. And then looking at the things that I'm doing, I can often look at something and say, I don't like it if I have an expectation that it's not going the right way and it doesn't bring me joy based on the way I look at it. Or I can look at it and say, I feel good about doing hard work and that brings me some level of joy. So a lot of it's mental framing, but let's just get into some basics. There's some, if you haven't heard any of the law of attraction type stuff, by now most people have. But if you just look at kind of the quantum physics of things, the the law of attraction just says like attracts like. It's pretty simple. Like attracts like. The way that you kind of have to use that to your ability is you got to understand that your being, your body puts off a vibrational frequency that is created from kind of like your brain, your subconscious, but that's also controlled by your soul, your consciousness, right? And it's your consciousness that affects the body that then vibrates out and affects all particle energy on a quantum physics level. And therefore, you can affect different things. Everything that you see, everything that's around you, and everything else is very much affected by you, possibly even created by you. In other words, if you didn't exist, all this stuff may not exist either. It's hard to say. Science can't say it is or it isn't. There's like this theory called the black box theory, if you want to go down a rabbit hole. But basically, it's like energy doesn't exist until it's viewed. Can you prove it? No, you can't. You can't prove it. You can't disprove it. However, with what like a lot of scientific studies, a lot of testing and different things, it appears more like we actually have the ability to form matter and energy into something, but it happens on a very slow pattern scale, whatever. So most everything that you want is already out there and it wants you. But the only thing stopping that is you. It's your resistance, your belief. So I'm going to go into a little bit of the like science first so you understand why we're doing this. And then I'm going to show you how like why it's important to take a few steps and then kind of where you want to find yourself in order to actually manifest what you want. So if you want money, think about this from a money perspective. If you want a relationship, think about it from a relationship perspective. If you have health issues or the way your body is or something like that, you got to think about it from the physical standpoint. And then there's a spiritual one that comes into play with all of them. So when you if you take a like basically just think about this, if we all know that everything is made of atoms, we've known that forever, but if you look at an atom is made up of different things. It has a nucleus and like the different things. I don't know the exact terms, but there's like protons, neutrons, all this different stuff. And then you break that down to a smaller thing and you break that down to a smaller thing. But just think about atoms, right? If you look like this microphone right here I'm talking into is made up of atoms. I am made up of atoms. You are made up of atoms. How does that happen? How does that work? Like, how can we all be made up of the same substance? And if you break it down to the smallest microscopic, that to the smallest thing to known to mankind currently are basically called light particles. They have a name for them, but I'm just going to call them a particle so we don't get too complex. And you can think of this as almost like a speck of sand. Then this speck of sand vibrates at a rate, and the vibrational frequency of that speck is what creates it to become what it is. So it organizes into matter that becomes you, me, this microphone, everything that we experience. But it's all the same thing. It's all energy. Okay, so you got to think about that. Like, wait a minute, if we're all the same, then we're all energy. So what does that mean? I don't understand how, but yeah, we have a consciousness, we have a soul that's different. And to prove that we have a consciousness, they've actually done extensive studies around consciousness. And when people die, there is a matter of weight, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think it's like I want to say it's less than 30 grams, like somewhere between like 12 to 28 grams of weight that immediately leaves the body. And it doesn't have to do with like breathing out or exhaling or anything like that. It's just like all of a sudden there's a change in weight when someone actually dies. They did a bunch of studies to basically confirm it and say there's something happening. And that is what we call that's when the soul, the consciousness goes to heaven or leaves the body for however long it's going to. So we kind of have this idea of okay, everything is the same on a quantum physics level. Everything is particles that vibrate at a frequency. Okay, understood. Or at least we get the concept. So how does this law of attraction thing work? Well, our bodies, our brains, our heart put out a vibrational frequency. And that vibrational frequency makes things up. Now, they've been able to do studies where someone, they took the people that are a little better at meditating and things like that, where they would measure take pure gold, for example. They would measure the frequency of the pure gold. And so then they'd have this person meditate to change the frequency or have an effect on the pure gold. And then they would test the frequency and it still looks like gold, but the frequency did change. Like something happened to it. They can measure it. There's a great research study done by Dr. Marisu Emoto. Excuse me, where he took water and he took it from different sources and basically froze it. And then with a high powered camera, frozen took pictures of the molecular structure of the water, which was like either crystals or different things. You should look this up if you haven't. It's kind of hard to get all of it, and there's some naysayers out there that try to discredit him and everything else. But you can't. If you just look at the research study that he did, it pretty well proves its exact point. And this is also proving why positive self-talk is such a massive influential part of your being and the results that you get. So he took water and he tested it, and he was more looking at polluted water at the beginning. So he took it from this reservoir in Japan, from this lake in Japan, from rainwater in this city to this over here. And most of these were just disgusting when you look at the picture. They just did not look right. There was something messed up with them. It was like deformed, not crystallized or anything. And I think there was one where it was a pretty fresh source of water and it actually looked pretty good. But then he got an idea and he said, well, what if I take pictures? Like, what if I pray over the water? And I could be getting this out of order, but it all is relevant. She says, what if I pray over the water? And they prayed over the water, and the structure of the water changed. So they would take often polluted water, pray over it, and it would become cleaner looking. The crystallized structure of it would get better. And so I was like, well, that's interesting. So then he'd take water, put it in a jar, or I think it was a freezable something, write on a piece of paper, tape it to the jar, freeze it, take a picture of it, and it would change the structure of the water. And if it was like I hate you, it would look like the surface of the moon, like craters and dark and brown and nasty yellowy color. Then there was the ones like I think one of the like thickest, most robust ones was the words "you can do it," right? Like beautiful structure. Love, uh, I love you. Um, just positive things just really change the structure of these crystals. So how does that happen? Well, because when we're actually like vibrating that appreciation, that encouragement, those different things, when we're vibrating that, we're sending out frequencies towards whatever we're vibrating, and we're having an effect on those things outside of us instantaneously without, without measure. And there's this one where I was, told this by one of my mentors. They said they took somebody's blood in the test tube, and then they told him to, think about something that makes you happy. Think about it. His frequency would change. Also, the blood in the test tube would change. Think about something that makes you mad. Instantly, the test tube would change with his body. With the measuring capabilities they had, it was instantaneous. So then they put each of them in lead-filled, lead-lined rooms away from each other, and still instantly it changed. Well, so think about that. You got the densest thing that most pretty much know, and instantaneously energy is like communicating with itself on the other side. And I think they took it up to like 150 miles away from each other in lead lined rooms, and still energetically it would change instantly. The frequency of it would immediately change. So it was very, very interesting. Well, without having to even think about it, if you understand that everything is energy, then you understand that lead, the lead lined room, or some barrier, or everything on the planet is also energy. So it can all communicate at the same time because all energy is tied together. Just like your phone. You walk in an elevator or a basement, how do you get a phone signal? All the doors are shut. Sometimes you don't, but how, but sometimes you do. And it's like, how does that even happen? Well, because it's energy. It can actually move through substances until it gets like, I mean, I don't think if you go in a lead lined room with a Faraday cage that you're going to get phone service. So it's just a different level of energy that it can't quite penetrate through. But at a cellular, at the bottom line of our consciousness level, we are affecting all energy. Us living physically in this world with in conjunction with our soul, we have an effect on all energy. So, okay, that's kind of a little bit of science, but behind it to think, wait a minute, everything's energy. Kind of makes sense. Okay, we affect it. We can change it. Can we create it? Possibly. Most of the time, you can pretty much just say it's already there, because every time you manifest something, eventually it's like, well, it was already there. It's been there for a long time. Some could, like, I would actually argue to say that you can actually create something that never was into fruition based on just the thought. But you being open to it is much different. When you are manifesting, there are a couple things. One is the your desire, your energetic desire to bring it to you. The other thing is like, how intense is it? Like, can it bring it? Does it have enough power to bring it to you? Because again, it can exist, but then you got to have the power to bring it to you. But then there's, are you stopping it from even coming in? And I'll give you an example. Let's talk about a relationship. You want the guy or the girl. Thinking about it, you feel good about it. You're emoting, you're emotionally in it. You got the vision, like all these different things. You're seeing everything perfectly. And you get this idea that, like, well, maybe I should get on this dating app thing, but then you get scared and you don't get on it. Well, what is that? That is resistance. That is an energetic block that's stopping you based on fear, sadness, judgment, anger, whatever. It's some block is stopping you. When it comes to money, you might have an idea. Well, maybe I should try this. And then you talk yourself out of it. Why? Because there's resistance. There's actually a block there. So either of these scenarios, if you spend a lot of time with losers, financially, emotionally, relationally, and you're kind of stuck in the mud with some of these people, they have an influence. How are you going to have a positive enough mindset to believe that you're the one that's going to break free of it? You can do it, but it's not a good idea to stay in a negative situation. And then you'll get trapped inside these negative situations thinking, well, I don't want to be a bad person. wait, what? Like, how could you trying to raise your vibration make you a bad person because the losers say so, because someone makes you feel guilty? That's a negative energy, all of it. Like, why not just walk away from it? Why not just say, hey, thanks for giving me the space to go try to do more. Thanks, and just go and be done with it. You don't have to hang on to the mess. The other one is, even if you're in that situation, how are you influencing yourself? Are you reading good books? Are you listening to the right audios? Are you putting the right things in your head? Are you choosing to see things from an understanding, compassionate frame of mind? Because your emotional energy is what actually manifests. It's not your thoughts, it's not your thinking that does it. You can't think your way into success. You have to believe your way into success. But what is actually happening inside of that is when you start thinking about, here's my desire, this is what I want, and then this is the next step, and then you take action, right? In the Bible, it says faith without works is dead. Well, if you look at that, it's just like it's a completely 100% factual statement. And if you look at it from the law of attraction side, it says believing but taking no action is dead. That's bullshit. Faith without works is dead. Faith is the hope for things that are not seen, but you believe they will happen, right? I don't know the exact quote, but um, so if you have a strong desire, great. If you are believing it and everything else, you feel really good about it. In other words, you're not thinking about lack. If you're thinking about lack, it means you are going to you're going to manifest more things to lack. And so as you do this, then it's like, okay, well, if that's the thing, then what's the next thing I have to do? Well, I got to do this. And then you go do that. And nothing ever stops you. Even if it fails or it doesn't work, next thing, next thing, next thing. What's next? Do that. And what's next? Do that. Because faith with works produces results and gets you exactly what you want. So super, super important thing to remember right there, that even though it seems like what you're doing is like maybe making you unhappy or doing this, but you look at it and you say, is this the thing that, like, should I quit doing this or should I do that? And you start second guessing it. Well, I mean, all you're doing is focusing on lack. So just keep doing what you're doing until you have a vision that says, well, maybe I should do this. And it's an action forward. Then it works. As I have gone through, I'll give you a little story time here, take a break from the teaching part of it. You know, I've gone from, making a little bit of money to massively increasing my money from since I was a kid. I grew up out of town in the country in a trailer house. I'm one of 11 kids. I was the oldest boy, one older sister. Started working, when I was very young, I started working, and about the age of 12, I started working basically to the point like I wanted nicer clothes, and my parents didn't really have the funds to do that. So I said, hey, why don't you give me the money you're going to go spend at Walmart? I'll combine it with my money and I'll go get some name brand jeans, things like that. I started doing that. So, there's a certain aspect with money when understanding the complexities of lack versus want and desire. Like I understand these things very, very well because I've gone from poverty basically to success to at one point. It seems like every time I would pull something down, I'd basically double my income. And so I went from, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I went and took a job working heavy construction when I was 20, 23, 24, and turned it into a pretty good career, made money. I think I made like 55, 56,000 a year. This was back in 07, 08, well, 05 to 09. And the economy went down and I was like, I made $1,000 less this year. I don't go backwards. I quit. And then I went and opened my business, my auto body shop. And then I made well over 100,000. And then I got into coaching and made that in a weekend, so these massive jumps, and then went into the millions and lost everything, and then built it back up and lost everything again, like crazy stuff. But I've never regretted any of it. It's been hard. It's been really hard through some of it, losing stuff, repo, power shut off, heat shut off, sometimes like just The craziest circumstances that I needed to learn to have the integrity that I do now around money, and I don't think I really had any problems. It's just you you just well, we all learn in different ways. Some people will go to school, some people will learn it in life, but I'm just a go-getter, and so I just keep going. And through this process, I've built different businesses. I've learned massive amounts of skills. I can understand people at a higher level because of it. So when I'm coaching, I have a ways of understanding a lot of different things, especially on the relationship side of what happens when the money's up or when the money's down or when this is happening, when your health is shit or when it's good. There's just so many things. So um one of the things along the way though, I always began to look at was saying, with this job, I maxed out my time. I can't make any more money. And the only way for me to make more money is to invest somewhere, either in people, into something that I can like if I can spend, I buy like real estate and then it pays me, but it's a really small amount. So the amount I have to put up is large and it pays me just a little bit. And so I was like, well, I can make more money just using my money to buy a car and flip a car and I make a bigger chunk. But I was never really gaining. I just got better at it. I was gaining that way, but I was never getting free. And so I had to, slowly teach myself investing isn't just about money. It's about a vibrational frequency that you raise up. And so even simply having like a bag of savings changes your vibrational frequency, right? It brings in wealth into the frequency. So it's easier to manifest money. Very simply, I'll give you an example. If I'm, if I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 cash, somebody is in need of selling a vehicle, or they've got one that they've used up and they're like, I don't want to deal with it anymore, whatever. And I do this all the time because I can fix anything. They're like, yeah, give me 6 grand for that. I'll like you can have it. Well, guess what? I've got 6 grand laying around, so I just pay him 6 grand. This is a particular example I'll give you. It's like, yeah, that thing's worth that. Like, man, he's like, well, it does this problem, this problem. I'm like, all right. So I bring it in a day, I get it, I throw some parts at it, I get it running, and I drive this truck for 2 years, 100,000 miles on it. Sell it for 15,000. Like, it's insane. I actually did that. Something happened to the truck again. I bought it back for 5,000. I spent a day on it. I drove it for another um 50,000 miles or something. So just it's simply that. Now, if you have $500,000 and somebody winds up in a situation where they have to sell their house and it's like the market's not exactly perfect or anything else, or they're just in a situation. It's like, hey, I got this, it works out. They're like, I'll take it. That works for me. It's exactly what I need. I just need to be done here. Okay, great. So you buy a house and you're $100,000 equity, you flip it in 3 months, you make 100 grand. You know, that's not because of the money. That's because of the vibrational frequency that you're vibrating at. The wealthier someone is the easier it is for them to make money. However, when I say easy, there's a side of life that is not easy when you have a lot of money because you have people starting to want to sue you, attack you, and do different things. So you have to have a very high emotional integrity around it when you have a lot of responsibility. When it comes to a relationship, again, how do you manage your relationships? I've been up and down through these. Like had the first girlfriend I fell in love with, wrecked, like bad situation. Second one, dated for 8 years. She leaves, after I helped her build her business. Then she runs off, doesn't need me anymore. Like, okay, great. Next, but I've always kept a positive mindset moving forward. Like, well, I know what I want. So if she's not it, she's not it. I'm going to go find something better. Get married. That marriage lasted, I think, 8.5 years, 8.5. I don't even remember, about 9 years. And then that ended. By now, I'm really clear at what I want. I've also corrected all the problems that I felt like I had before: the smoking, the drinking, the addiction to porn, some hidden lies that just like I was too embarrassed to come out and talk about. I had made a major mistake during that marriage, and like I cheated once, and it was like something's wrong, and went on a mission to fix it and fix myself. So very not good type stuff, but through that I overcame it. My vibrational frequency just keeps rising, keeps rising. So I want you to think about this focus on You've got energy that you're manifesting all the time. This never stops. Your soul is always going to cause your body to vibrate all the time. So what is around you, what you are viewing is what you're creating. You have to be an energetic match to your reality. Otherwise it doesn't work. Like that's the reality. And so you're thinking, well, I'm not trying to manifest this. I'm trying to do this. But you are. You are manifesting those things. And if you actually want to change those things, then you have to change some shit. You got to quit doing the same stuff. You got to quit hanging out with the same people. You got to quit thinking the same thing. You got to quit listening to reading the wrong books or whatever. And in today's world, there is so much BS bullshit on social media, the news, the lies. Now AI is manipulating people to look like they're saying things, and you can't believe anything. So where is your center? I suggested you make God your center. I'm not talking about religion. I'm just talking about God. You can go in the Bible, and in my case, the Book of Mormon. Either one. I think like I'm good with both of those, 100% without a shadow of a doubt. But if you just want to stick with the Bible, that's fine too. But that's kind of your center. But you got to let go of the religious crap because most of it makes you feel guilty, weighed down, causes a lot of resistance. Remember, God loves you and God's grace is sufficient. You cannot, well, stop thinking it's not. He loves you 100%. There's like nothing, no person, no thing, no thought even matches God's love. None. Like, so think abundant inside of that. All anything you've done or anything you're beating yourself up about, stop, stop. You're good enough. You are good enough. You're powerful. You are created in his image and understand that you are a fucking powerful being. So be that. And then start looking at it and saying, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. Now, yeah, a little science, told you little stories of like understanding. So if you're thinking, oh, you don't understand, blah, 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 blah. Come on. I'm the guy that grew up running heavy equipment, in the dirt, auto body mechanic, or I do auto body, auto mechanic, a bunch of different trades. Like I'm basically a psychologist in a sense without having a degree, but this is what I do. I have a deep knowledge of law of attraction. I meditate. I do all the woo woo foo foo stuff, pay attention to it. I'm you know, heavy into God spiritually, those types of things. I'm understanding to all different types of stuff. And I think good people are good people. I'm also understanding to um evil, why it happens, what it is, and try to give space to people. But if someone is going to be evil, I don't want them in my life. I will give them the space to correct it or to be kind or whatever, and maybe have an effect. But I don't need to put up with it. So my tolerance for evil is very small. My understanding, compassion for people in bad situations that are doing bad shit or whatever, I have a lot of compassion for. Mainly because one, God commanded, but when you look at the law of attraction, to tell someone you can do it and genuinely mean it, think about the water crystal. If that's one of the most robust water molecule crystals that you can tell energy can flow through it, like something energetic about it is very powerful. And it's not saying I can do it, less powerful. You can do it because you're vibrating that, right? So if you get yourself super content in your life and you're supporting and serving other people, you should be making a ton of money, by the way. Like I don't believe in self-sacrificing yourself. I believe in providing service. I mean, yes, I do coach a few people for free, and I just take that as like that God put them in front of me for a reason. I coach a lot less for free than I used to because it just wasn't serving most of those people. So very, very conscious and aware of the time, but I would love to be able to do it more. It just usually becomes an uneven exchange. So got to watch that. But it's not sacrificing to me. It's more fulfilling would be the way I would look at it. I don't do it because I feel guilty or I have to or anything else. So somebody that will say, "Oh well, suffering's part of the game." No, suffering's optional. Jesus suffered. We don't have to. We will experience some suffering because we call it suffering. Because going to the gym, work out hard can be considered suffering. However, it's also very fulfilling. So it's like, well, is it suffering? I mean, it kind of feels like suffering, but it's really a mindset. So vibrationally, if you want to manifest an amazing relationship, but you find your thoughts thinking about, oh no, did I do this? Or second guessing yourself or judging the other person, that ain't gonna cut it. Hate to tell you, but you're not gonna manifest the right person if your mind isn't vibrating in the right space. So you want to be engaged in a lot of things. And if you have, like, let's say you have challenges or issues with a religion or God or anything, the books, Conversations with God, to me are very um releasing in a sense. I don't know that I could go along with everything there, but I kind of get it. I kind of listened to it and it just kind of gave me a little bit of like relief to think, what we think is not. As soon as we think we know God, we're full of it. Just like, if you understand Christianity at all, the Pharisees, his own people killed Jesus, was crucified by the people that were supposed to be the wisest, not most knowledgeable ones, right? So don't be them. Don't get in your head and don't think you're like you know it all or anything else. Just be humble, be the most humble, and get to the point where you can submit to God, right? Like at the end of the day, you turn it over, you submit to God because He is the Father that's going to give you everything you want. No, like even in this world, and this is like, I think Matthew 6 talks about this is Jesus saying, if your kid asked you for food, wouldn't you give it to him? Well, yeah, of course I would. If your kid had any need, wouldn't you give it to him? Well, yeah, if I can. Okay. Well, then why aren't you asking God? Because God can. God can give you anything. So are you asking or are you relying on yourself? And in that, there's this letting go, energetic law of attraction style, release, let it go. If it is to be, then it will be. This is what I would like. If it's good for me, please make it happen. If it is not, don't. And then whatever the outcome of that is, you have your perfect answer, right? And in the process, you have the faith that you will get the answer, but you also take action to help yourself make it happen because that is what raises your belief in order to manifest it. Now, on our calls in our membership, I get more into the, like some energy clearing the blocks because you'll have emotional struggles that cause thoughts that make you think of the lack and the negative, which means you create and you manifest more of the lack and the negative. um, in my life, all the bad stuff that happened, the things you would call bad, I don't even look at them as bad anymore, but like when the business when we had one major business failure before, I felt it coming. I I had ideas like, I should really do this right now. And then I like didn't do it. And then I kind of second guessed it. And then I just flat out ignored it. And then it slapped me in the face. Everything that happened, even the people that wound up stabbing us in the back, they it's hard to say this because I feel like it was like I failed them. But we had a bunch of leaders in our company, and I was telling, that I'd ask them, well, what do you want? Because I need to keep them on track too. So coaches need coaches, and they would tell me what they wanted, and I was like, yeah, but you're not doing this. Like this is what you're going to have to do. And they just kept saying, I want this, I want this, I want this. And I was like, I don't know what to do here because they're saying they want things, but they're not doing it because they lack the belief, which means they're going to create the opposite. They're saying they want this, but they're not there. They're focused on the lack. They're unwilling. They kind of got hard in their hearts and they're unwilling to make the dramatic changes required to actually become the person, right? It's not, you can have, be, and do anything you want. It's, you get a desire, you start doing it, you become it, then you have it. And it just got this same energy across the company. And I was like, this is a problem. It's a big problem. And it wasn't very long after that that everything felt miserably. However, I observed all these people. I just continued to. I didn't talk about this to anybody. I've never really even spoken about it, to be honest. Um, there were many that said, well, I just want to do this, 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 and this. And what they were really saying is I want to feel better about myself. I want to feel more powerful. I want to be more certain. I want to gain a little, have a little more significance here. Like, things like that is what they were really saying. And so I watched them. We all took a hit. The business failed. Everybody lost a ton of money. There was a bunch of weird, I don't know, backstabbing. Had all these people that would say they were my friends, and they just all of a sudden I'm left with nothing, and they're gone, and most of them talking shit behind my back, and it's just like, okay, well, I fucked up. Should have watched my accountant a little better than I did, but it is what it is. But I just kept watching these people, and they went through a struggle. They went through a pullback, then they had to figure it out, and now they're better people. And so they all kind of became more of what they said. It didn't look like how they thought it would, but they all wound up going to where they wanted. But because they were unwilling to do the hard thing of like going to the gym and suffering to get the result, they just kept talking about it and talking about it. But it's like you were putting it out there with a high intensity. You realize what's going to happen, and here's the let me give you the metaphor for it. Somebody says, well, you maybe I should do a relationship one. I usually do this with money, but I'm gonna do a relationship metaphor with it. Girl wants guy. Okay. And she's like, I really, really want that. Like, I just want to find the right guy that like knows how to lead and he makes decisions and he does all these cool things and he takes care of me and he opens the door and all this stuff, right? So she decides everything, but then she's a little scared and she starts taking these steps and she gets this idea. Well, maybe you should just like go to church or something. I don't know if I want to go to church and talk to anybody. So she doesn't talk to anybody in church. Okay. Has an idea, but she thinks, well, maybe that kind of guy's there, but she doesn't engage or anything. Okay. So then she gets another thought. See, because most of the time when you're manifesting, the first thing is a thought, the next thing is an action. Then after that, it just kind of escalates up. But you think about it as almost like God or God's army of angels trying to give it to you. So first thing is a thought. Well, maybe I should like go to church and see if there's any men there or make myself available, but I don't know what to do. Scared. Okay, fine. Negative. Scared. Block. Okay, fine. Not a big deal. Next thing. Maybe I should get on dating apps. Okay. So she gets on dating apps and then she like posts all these and has this idea of like, oh, I just want to really clean, whatever, but then gets in her head about fear. So then she starts to present herself a little bit skewed, right? The right pictures, maybe leaves her parameters a little too open, as in, well, maybe some drinking's okay, maybe this is okay, maybe that's okay, because now she is in fear that if she's not open enough, she won't be selected. And so, more fear. Okay. But then she opens herself up to the wrong kind of guys, but it's like, okay, it's still okay. Well, you're not clear. The angels are like, God's like, okay, well, here, I'll help you get clear. So he gives her a man that is a little too much over the top, drinks a little too much. Okay, fine. Does these different things. Well, then he gets to drinking and she won't leave because she's afraid of losing. Right. She's no longer focusing on what she wants, having total faith in God and then taking the action that is know exactly what you want and then stand by those parameters, knowing that it will be delivered. Pretty soon she's in the trap. And so it's like the thought comes in, you don't follow the thought. Okay, then okay, well, you're not listening to any of the thoughts. So I'm just gonna send you this guy. And then God tries to send you the perfect guy. Like this, so the guy goes to church, but you're not open. He even says hi, and you're like, hi, and you don't feel adequate with yourself. And so you just don't say anything, and he doesn't get your number, and he's like, that was weird. She must be taken. I don't know, whatever. But he's a perfect guy. So now he's gone. So then you go over here, and the next fear kicks in, and then you open yourself up too much. But God's like, well, that's not going to work. You need to get clear here. Here, let me just teach you a lesson. So then he puts you with a guy that winds up drinking too much, winds up flirting way too much with the wrong girl, and maybe even does something. And then you're like, I do not like that. And if you don't leave, he's going to smash you. Okay, God is going to smash you to say, look, have you made up your mind yet? Do you understand how special you are and how amazing you are? Have you learned what boundaries are yet? And so when a lot of people are complaining about like, oh, this happened or that, or pointing the finger, it's like, no, you said you wanted something, but then you wouldn't stand up for what you wanted. You wouldn't be clear. And so those are energetic blocks that are causing you to think that way. They come from the subconscious, not from the soul. You got to get in the soul, but when the subconscious is ruling over you because of fears, trauma, and things like that, then you don't listen. You come out of the heart and go into the head, and then you can almost experience the feelings wherever they are that are causing a physical feeling inside of you. You got to really pay attention to the feelings because those are what are emoting. And so if you find yourself asking for something and then thinking about it, and then you feel doubt, well, what about this? Well, I don't know, maybe I should do this, and you start questioning. That is all fear. That's when you pretty much go, I need to no longer focus on this desire. I am not manifesting it at the moment until I correct this problem, my fear or my anger or my judgment or whatever it is. So really, really pay attention to those emoting feelings that you're putting out, and pay attention to those first thoughts. Oh, I should do this. Stop thinking, just go do it. Stop worrying about how you look. Stop putting on the mask of this is what I need to present, and start getting back into God made me perfect. God is with me. God is supporting me. I can be 100% vulnerable because I want to be able to express the full me, the full fucked up me. So I never have to be fake, because if I'm never fake, then whoever loves me, I know it will be true love, right? Like, same with the dudes, guys. If you're ever doing things because you think she wants it that way or whatever, you're being fake. Go be you. Like, even if if you are really being you and you feel good about being you, and some woman's like, you're you're not doing this or you're being an asshole, just be like, well, I don't like that kind of behavior. So I don't either you're having a bad day or we're not a good fit. Like one or the other. But I'm going to be me, because if I'm not me, then we'll both be miserable, and then we'll both be discontent, and one of us will destroy this. We will burn it to the ground. So this initial idea of manifesting, then not taking advantage of it, like the money one. Oh well, maybe I should try this. Maybe I should get this job. Apply for it. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I probably can't get that job, so you don't. Then eventually God just smashes you and gets you fired, so you get the opportunity to go get it. But then we either lose the guy, lose the girl, or get fired from the job, and then all we do is want back to the same level of misery that existed before, which I don't do that. I just I if I wind up where I was before, I will destroy it. I will destroy it over and over and over and over again until I get better. Lucky for me, I continue to get better. I've learned that rather than waiting for a relationship to end, I will just speak the truth so that it can grow inside the relationship. In my finances, I invest. Eventually, I said, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm going to invest in real estate. I don't care if I got to start with $1,000, talk somebody into letting me in, even if I never see the money again. If I can put some money here, if I can put some money here, if I can put some money here. And I just started doing it, just started pushing money into places without any expectation of ever seeing it. Well, I do have an expectation of seeing it again, but I'm not attached to it if it gets lost. And pretty soon I've got this money spread out, and at the same time, I'm working less than ever, making more than ever. And then the next thing that I hire somebody, and all of a sudden, again, I'm making more, working less, and I have bigger investments and more of this. The more I work on my physical body, the higher my vibration, the better my business runs, the better my relationship runs, the closer spiritually I'm connected to God, because now I have more confidence, more faith, more belief, everything. Your physical being is super important. So I've talked a lot about technical shit. Um, but I wanted to just try to explain some of the things that you want to be thinking about, because every one of you has this thing that you're going after, whether it's money, a relationship, a physical desire, or a spiritual desire. A physical desire could be, I want to look like this. And I'm going to say, like, if you have a real desire to want to look like this, go after it, go get it, figure it out. I went on a journey of pretty much like heavy, well, my journey was to detox the brain. I actually got certified in that ability to do that. And I do that with some of my clients. So if you're ever like, I think this is what I need, then you get a hold of me, because if you have like a weight problem where it's not leaving, it's not anything else, it probably has nothing to do with anything other than there's toxins in your brain that are flipping hormonal switches, and you won't be able to lose weight. And even if you did, you'll just come right back immediately until you correct the problem in the brain. That's what I did. I was like losing muscle mass. Um, like but it's what you call skinny fat. And I do this detox, instantly start building muscle. Not only that, I maintain muscle easier. I started sleeping again better. My rage went away. My brain fog went away. All those different things. And since COVID came up, it's been really bad with a lot of people. So to be able to purge that out of your system is amazing, and it's not difficult. It's all it is like you take some supplements. That's all it is basically. So, um, if you have a health problem, and that goes for any type of disease with health, like this is the number one factor that helping people's bodies heal themselves is to do the proper detox. And the guy I learned it from has been doing it for well over 20 years, since like 2004, I think. Well, yeah, that would be 20 years. So maybe before that, but I'm not sure. But he is the leading expert in this arena of being able to do this. You'll hear a lot of things about detoxes. They're bullshit. Cleanses, bullshit. Parasite cleanses are dewormed, bullshit. Bullshit. They will come back. If you don't fix this problem, they will all come back and not solve your problem. They might solve it temporarily or do this. You have to go after the source. If you have a spiritual problem, like you're a sinner, right? And you maybe you've got some darkness inside of you. Maybe you've gone as far as like you're a woman, you've had an abortion, and it's just darkness. And I'm not trying to talk about anything. I'm not trying to say pro-life, pro-choice. What I'm saying is, as a woman, a natural instinct of yours, genetically built into your DNA, and also your soul, between you and Yod, is to be a caretaker, provider, and a producer of life. And if you found yourself in some messed up situation where you had to choose, and unfortunately the choice was to get an abortion, then that is a tough place to be. I have a lot of compassion for that. And I care more about your psychological welfare at this point, and to help people understand that, like, let it go. Like God's grace is sufficient. So I don't know that there's anything harder than to have to go through that and then realize just how hard it is as a woman. So I don't think I really need to talk about anything else on top of that. So that spiritually, that would probably be one of the toughest things for someone to go through. You might have something where it's like a lot of sexual sins or whatever, that, like mine was pornography, addicted, bad, like couldn't get away from it, trying for years and years and years. And finally, 3 years ago, done completely. That was a fight of my life. So I understand that. And that was keeping me disconnected constantly with God. And so very blessed to be on the other side of that. Financially, money's just up and down. Like it is what it is. I'm I just continue to educate myself more and more on higher levels of investing, higher levels of business, all the different things that have to come into play to grow. And I just keep growing. I keep building. But the ability to build wealth is not based on how much money you earn. It's based on spending less than you earn. And then from there, then you take it into where do you put it to where it can earn you more without your time. And you just build on that. There's a lot to go into that, but I'm not going to, just this idea. And then there's the relationship piece where you might be the fight. That might be where you're at. And typically if you're a woman and you find yourself feeling like, why didn't he choose me, or why am I not good enough or anything else? You should just be focused on yourself. You should be connecting, with your body, with God, having faith in him, and doing that, because when you gain the confidence in those things right there, then you don't have to second guess if you're good enough. You never should. You're a child of God. You were born good enough. But, this thing up here, your brain, will fight you. And if you're not living in integrity to who you know you should be, if you're putting on masks and putting out a front, then you will never feel secure. So work on yourself. Take it and work on yourself. Men, your bodies are your weapons. Make sure they're whole, because that gives you the confidence to go do the shit you need to do. So in a relationship, if you're lacking, if you're not keeping your fucking word, if you're lying, you're doing things like that, then you won't have the relationship that you're looking for. You won't, because you're a liar. And even me, We're all liars. Like there's little things that we'll lie about or will just kind of allow to happen and not even challenge. And then we look at them and be like, that probably wasn't the best way to do that. In fact, if God was over my shoulder and I asked him, how should I handle this? I know that's not how it would have been handled, kind of looking at hindsight. So don't do that again. It's not about beating up. It's just about doing better. And number one, keep your fucking word, right? And men that are typically like at least decent with their money, they spend less than they earn or some version of that. They're smart, they invest, they do things like that. They're kind of conscious about their body. So it works and it functions the way it should. They're not addicted to substances. They're not addicted to porn, alcohol, smoke, whatever. They're usually pretty damn confident men. And when you're a damn confident man, you can lead a woman and you can have a great, healthy, amazing, wonderful relationship. All right. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That was a lot of like deep, heavy, go into it. And there's obviously 1,000 different ways you can go into each different subject and different things, but I just want you to think about what do you desire the most? Is it money? Is it a relationship? Is it love? Is it to feel good in your body? Is it a connection with God? What what is it? What is it that you want the most? And then think about it. What would help me? What would get me closest, fastest? Like if I want this, what would help me get there the quickest? And for me, well, not for me, but I'm going to make this suggestion. I believe that what I can do with that question right there to help you figure that out, like to say, I know what your next action step could be that could help you get clarity, to get focused, to get an idea of what it takes, coming from somebody that has been there, that has been through all kinds of shit from all those different levels. They can say, well, not even tell you what to do, but just ask you the right questions to inspire you to get the truth on the action that you need to take. That would be to have a conversation with me. So if you're thinking, this is my desire, what is my next thing? What's the action? What's the take the faith and put an action to it so your faith without works isn't dead, so that you can actually do some work that it's living and growing and your belief is going up. That step could be as simple as having a conversation with myself or with Jen to say, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I know I can at least reach out. That could be it. Or you could get weird, get confused about it, not do it because you're going to think that, well, I don't know, I'm not ready. I like maybe you're thinking money financially, or maybe you're thinking you have this problem you don't want to talk about. Remember, we have compassion for anything, like we just want to see people win. Money, there's always a way around. There's always something. There's always an idea because the action that you take is what makes the faith work. And so often when I've done this, when I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do, and I make the decision, I'm going to do it, the money shows up. It's crazy what happens. Or there's a solution that comes out of the woodwork that's like, oh, I never saw that. Of course, because you can only see this much where God can see everything. So use that to your advantage. So that would be my suggestion, is to make your next step to say, hey, here's my desire. What do I do? It can start that simple. Just be like, well, let's get on a phone call and let me ask some questions and then see if there's, I mean, that may be all you need. It's just have some questions, or it might be like, okay, we can see this. Okay, this is what we need to do, and we set up a plan. So whatever it is, do that. Start there, but just ask yourself right now: is it the relationship? Is it the body? Is it the money? Or is it the connection with God that you desire the utmost right now? And if you're kind of like, I'm good. Well, you're just too fucking comfortable. And if you don't make yourself a little uncomfortable to grow, God will do it for you. And when that happens, just let me know. All right, guys. Uh, as always, have a wonderful week, and we will see. Our member calls are during the week, so I'll see you guys on the calls. My one-on-ones, I'll see you guys sooner, And the rest of you next week, have a good one.